In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a seamstress named Elara, whose needlework was unmatched by any in the land. It was said that her hands could mend not just garments, but hearts and souls. Her ability wasn't just skill, there was something else, something magical in her work. But Elara didn't think much of the whispers that surrounded her. She lived a simple life, sewing in the daylight, dreaming at night of the worlds far beyond the village. One fateful night, by working by candlelight, Elara noticed something odd. The air around her rippled as if the fabric of the world itself was unraveling. She watched in disbelief as the embroidery she had been working on twisted into something unrecognizable, threads snapping as if pulled by invisible hands. The world outside her window seemed dimmed, the moon flickering like a dying flame. At that moment, 3 cloaked figures appeared in her small cottage, materializing from thin air. They radiated power, though something about them felt diminished. Elara instinctively knew who they were, the Mirai, the fates who controlled the destiny of all things. But they looked different from the stories, weak, sick, as if some unseen force was tearing them apart from the inside. "We need your help," the eldest of the 3 Clotho rasped, her hands trembling as she held out a tangel of golden threads. Threads of fate. "They are breaking." Elara's heart raced. Why her? She was only a mortal seamstress, and these were gods. But as Clotho extended the knotted threads toward her, Elara felt a deep, inexplicable pull. Something inside her, the same gift she used in her needlework, responded to the threads. Lachesis, the second sister, spoke next, her voice trembling. "A plague has struck us. We cannot weave destiny as we once did. Mortals, gods, and everything in between are at risk. You, Elara, are our only hope." Stunned, Elara realized the enormity of what was being asked of her. The very future of the world was at stake, and she was no longer just a seamstress in a small village. She had been chosen by the fates themselves to repair the unraveling threads of destiny. Elara had little time to adjust to her new role. Within hours of the fates' plea, she was whisked away from her familiar village into a world torn by chaos. The Mirai, too weak to guide her further, entrusted her with the spindle, scissors, and loom, tools that, in the right hands, could mend destiny itself. But the plague that had struck them left the gods vulnerable, and power-hungry forces were already circling, seeking control over the broken threads. As Elara journeyed through the mortal and divine realms, she quickly realized the scale of the disaster. The skies had grown darker, filled with ominous signs of the unraveling. Time began to move strangely. Some days stretched into eternity, while others vanished like whispers in the wind. The once stable patterns of destiny were breaking apart, and people everywhere were panicking, unsure of what the future held. Her path led her to Olympus, where the gods were engaged in fearsome fighting. Without the Mirai to control destiny, the gods had become paranoid, blaming each other for the chaos. Zeus, his throne crackling with stormy energy, sought to seize control of the threads for himself, believing only he had the strength to restore order. Hera, ever cunning, whispered of using the threads to reshape the world to her design. Even Hades had emerged from the underworld, offering Elara safe passage to the land of the dead in exchange for a portion of her power. Amidst the growing tension, Elara felt the weight of the spindle, scissors, and loom. She realized that repairing the threads will not just restore fate, it would shift the balance of power between gods and mortals. Her gift, which she had once used to sew dresses and tapestries, now had the potential to reshape entire destinies. But the more she learned, the more she understood the stakes. The plague that infected the Mirai had not originated from any mortal illness. It was something ancient, something malevolent, with the power to consume all that existed. Elara knew the gods couldn't be trusted to fix the future. She needed allies, but she also needed time, and the threads of destiny were unraveling faster than she could repair them. Elara's journey brought her to the heart of the underworld, a place where even the threads of fate trembled. Here, beneath the gaze of Hades, she discovered the source of the plague, a shadowy being that fed on chaos and disorder, something older than the gods themselves. It had struck the Mirai to break the order of destiny, for in chaos it thrived. The being had woven its way into the threads of fate, poisoning them, ensuring no future could be predicted, no life could be secure. To save the future, Elara would have to face it head-on, but she wasn't alone. Along the way, she had earned the loyalty of unlikely companions, a fallen god cast aside by Olympus, a nymph who had been once enslaved by the fates and a mortal hero whose destiny had been cruelly cut short. Together they forged a plan. Elara would use her gift to weave a new thread, one not bound by the old laws of fate. The new thread, she hoped, would trap the shadowy figure and restore the Mirai's control. In the heart of the underworld, Elara began her final task. The threads of fate flickered in her hands, slippery and difficult to control, but she pressed on, weaving with precision and determination. She could feel the presence of the shadow watching, waiting for her to fail. But Elara was no longer just a seamstress. She was the keeper of fate, and with every stitch, she drew the shadow closer. At the final moment, as the shadow lunged toward her, Elara cut the thread, sealing its power within. The world stilled, time returned to its rightful flow, and the skies cleared. The plague that had struck the Mirai began to lift, and with it, the balance of fate was restored. Exhausted but victorious, Elara realized that her life could never return to what it had been. The gods now owed her a debt, and the Mirai themselves had become her ally. The threads of destiny had been repaired, but the future was forever changed. Elara had sewn herself into the very fabric